Hi, everyone, and welcome to a very special episode of Hot Off the Mess. I am your host, Samantha Bush. And why is it special? Well, for one, I am joined by my equally royally obsessed friend, Lex Niko. How are you?
I am great. I woke up this morning and we were gifted a gift, and Monday took the best turn ever.
It really did. So, we're here to discuss the Meghan Markle interview that she just did with The Cut because it's full of so many little details, tidbits. It's jam packed.
It is jam packed. The nuggets are delicious. I'm just like, every time I thought that it could go one way, it took another beautiful turn. And I'm
I
like,
know.
I texted you. I was like, I need to come and talk to you today.
And I was like, absolutely. And if you don't think that I have been trying to get my hands on that fucking Oprah interview that they did in 2021 just to rewatch,
Oh my
I,
God.
I can't find it anywhere.
You know,
It's
I
scrubbed.
I'm
They
in
have
Toronto right
clips on
now.
YouTube.
I'm in Toronto right now and I have it recorded still in LA on my television. I refuse to
You're a
delete it.
genius. Because I've been searching and searching and all I can get is clips.
Yeah, I think that they wiped it in its entirety because, they probably don't want somebody to own the full rights of it. And then remember the whole Diana BBC interview and how William was like, people aren't allowed to use those clips. There's probably some sort of legality to it, is my
Yeah, I mean,
imagination.
you and I, we love the royal family, but we also are critical of the royal family. We
Correct.
acknowledge the flaws in the system here. We're not here to just praise them. And you and I feel okay, never mind. I don't want to speak for you, but
I'm
what
sure
is
it would be
your
fine.
what is your opinion on Meghan Markle and Harry? Or is it
Okay,
two
so
separate things?
I think it's two separate things in the sense
Okay.
that I look at Meghan the individual, and I look at Harry and Meghan as a collective.
Okay.
And so what has been very challenging for me with Meghan is I love Meghan Markle. Let me just say that off the top before anybody's like, where is this chick going?
Yeah.
But as, a fellow mixed race biracial woman, I had a lot of complicated feelings when they decided to leave the royal family because I was like, there's somebody that looks like me, that represents me, that is in the public eye in that capacity. And in my mind, without the full context, I was like, oh, they left the royal family faster than they were in it when they were engaged. Like, what is going on? And so I had really complicated feelings with her until the Oprah interview. And we got more context into what was going on behind closed doors.
Mhm.
And then I wouldn't necessarily say that my mindset changed, but I definitely had way more empathy to her as an individual and what she was going through, and also them as partners and as that collective in what they had to endure and like how terrible it was.
I
Um,
I mean, I don't think people fully get what they've had to deal with. And I think because for so long they weren't able to speak out,
mhm.
they just had to sit back and just let people write the narrative that, they wanted or what they would think would sell papers. So it's kind of nice and really refreshing that Megan is now really excited to use her voice because she says in the interview, and I think she said this a few times before, she's like, I have a voice. I don't need to find
Mhm.
it. I just need to be able
Exactly.
to use it. That's the point. That's the difference. And I always think that that's so powerful when she says that because it's very true.
I know. I think
Yeah.
it's wild that, and we can talk about this in more detail because it's kind of at the end of this article, but when she's speaking so much about how she's kind of like, I can say whatever I want now, and I'm choosing not to, but like I could say it, but
Mhm.
also me not saying it, think about what that means. And so
Yeah.
it's a really interesting new dynamic that we're getting from Meghan in a post Duchess of Sussex era.
Yeah, and I mean, not that everything in my life has to go back to Bravo, but
But it's
let me
okay if it
say
does.
this. Family dynamics are really tough, obviously. And
Mhm.
when you marry into a family, no matter who they are. There's going to be like some, you know, it's going to be a little challenging. And like, always think of like Melissa and Teresa
Mm-hmm.
because it's like that was this on like an insane level, like so
Yes.
extreme. So, I mean, but it involved like racism. It was like, so it's like, think of how exhausted Melissa must feel. It's like, okay, well, times that by like 1,000.
Exactly.
And
And
that
it's
is
like
Meghan.
this refusal of acceptance at every single turn. And I think what is hard for Melissa and for Meghan is like trying to make sense of it. Like they don't have a concrete answer. And so all you can do is like reduce it, unfortunately, with Meghan to like racism, or Melissa to like, she doesn't like me or think I'm good enough for her family. Like, and that's really what it is, right? And
Yeah.
it's a shitty feeling to feel.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I remember when like the rumors were that her and Prince Harry were together, and like I remember becoming like obsessed with her, and like
Mm-hmm.
they would find like photos of her like on the street with like her yoga bag and like everything like that.
Yep.
And I mean, you are from Toronto, and
I know.
that's like where they filmed Suits.
Yeah, Megan was like a girl about town. Like she would literally, all those photos of her just walking down the street with her yoga mat. She would just be on a street, like down the street from me. You'd see her at Soho House. Like she was dating the chef from Toronto at the time who had a couple of like really popular restaurants. And like you would see her, you'd see her at
Yeah.
events. Like it was very much, you know, Megan, the actress, Megan, the influencer. It was not Megan, the princess. But again, like I'm not saying that one way or the other is any different, but she was just a normal famous person, a normal
Yeah,
famous
like,
person.
just like a regular celebrity, and I think that that's where people get a little bit confused, because if you're not, like, very into the royal world, like, if you're not, like, demented like us and really love it, it's very different than just being a celebrity. Like,
Correct.
it's not being a royal is not just like, "Oh, you're famous." It's like, you are, like, one of the most recognizable people. You like, your family technically owns, like, a all these countries. Like,
Hmm.
it's crazy, and there's, like, a 1,000-year, like, line of succession behind you. Like, it's a lot, and I remember during her Oprah interview, and I'll wrap this up so we can get into, like, what we're really here for. I remember, like, it really hitting me during her Oprah interview that, like, she was like, "I'm meeting Harry's grandma, but it's also the queen." So it's
Yes.
like, how does this, like, work? Like, do you curtsy at your own grandma? Like, what do you do? It's strange.
It's a
And I just remember
whole,
it hitting me like, "Oh, yeah,
yeah,
that's really weird."
it's like this whole added layer. And the layer, like you said, is like thousands of years deep in tradition. And it's, it's probably like walking into bizarro land, right?
Yeah,
In that
it is.
situation. And like she said this in the article where she's like, I loved having a voice and she loved sharing and being authentic like that. But she's like, I loved Harry more. And, you know, call it cheesy. Like I'll call it cheesy if you want. There's so many moments that I'm going to say are cheesy in this, but I think it also just shows like that was something for me that was striking and like, oh, right. Like you really gave up a whole ton of shit to be with
Yeah.
this man.
'Cause she wasn't, like, 23 when she met Harry and, like, just, like, graduated college or, like, maybe did, like, 1 or 2 things, like, she was, like, a full-ass woman
Yes.
who had a
Yes. A
career,
fully
she was in her
formed
30s,
adult.
divorced, like, she's lived a life, and
Mhm.
I mean, she gave all of that up to, like, be with him, and people are like, "Well, how hard can that be?" And it's like, well, they took her passport, her license, she wasn't allowed to open her own mail, she had to do certain like, there was so much protocol, and we'll get to that because there's something that really, really stood out to me in this article, but, um,
It
it's just
also just
crazy.
makes me laugh and like, how the hell did they like end up getting engaged and married? Like so much red tape
How
she had to go through. Like, and you think about what like Kate went through, just being a commoner, if you will. Like
right.
how much Megan had to go through being a divorcee, being American, being biracial. Like it again adds these like whole other elements that really blew my mind when she was talking about the fact that they opened her mail for her. I'm like, oh, like you really jumped through every hoop and, love seemingly won.
Yeah, I mean, they were in the trenches there for a
Yeah.
while, but
Yeah.
let's get into this article. First of all, the photos are beautiful. Like, I can't stop staring at them. I think she looks absolutely gorge in every
They're
photo. It's
the
so
best.
Meghan.
Hmm.
The
It's
photos are
incredible.
so Meghan. Like, the makeup, like, she's so always so natural and, like, dewy and, like, freckly and, like, so cute and beautiful, and I love the outfit, like, the white suit.
Oh my God.
It's
All of
giving
the
me life.
outfits. That one photo where she's like, there's two photos that she's sitting, but like the first one that's very regal. And I think it's like a black, almost like
The one
corseted
where she's
top.
holding her head.
No, 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 no. It's the one like the intro one
Oh,
where
yes, yes,
she's sitting with
yes.
it's the dress, but
It's
it's
the
black on
dress.
top and then the white bottom that sort of like flares out. It's regal. Like that is the
Regal.
most regal vision I've seen of Meghan.
It's
She
giving
looks
her
unbelievable.
Royal Highness. Like,
Yes.
it's
Meghan of Montecito.
it's giving Meghan of Montecito. Um, so in the beginning of the article, it kind of just outlines how they got to where they are now. Like, they they didn't go into like too much detail because I think she's probably sick of like talking about
Mhm.
the Megxit, if you will. Um, but I thought it was really interesting that like we got more context in the Tyler Perry of it all. Like,
Yes.
the whole like he had called her when they got married and said like, "I'm praying for you, like, this is a really big deal, and like I know we don't know each other, but I'm Tyler Perry." Like,
Yep.
it's who I am. And he really helped them out. He kind of came in and saved the day.
He fully came in and saved the day. I also
Mhm.
didn't know that they had never actually met. And she called him
I
and
didn't
he
either.
offered up his home and security. He paid for all of that for them, like just out of a note and a phone call. Like, that
Mhm.
is, first of all, how much money? Tyler Perry, I'm looking for a place to live. So
Yeah,
if you've got one,
let's
let's
take a
chat.
peek. I'm
But
curious as well. How much do you think Tyler Perry's net worth is?
oh my God. I mean, he has all of those Medea movies. Like he's like Eddie Murphy with what was it, like Big Mama or something, or Nutty
The Nutty
Professor. Nutty
Professor.
Professor. So it's like he's
I just
gotta
looked it
have
up.
a few $100 million.
600 million.
Oh my gosh.
That's bananas. Like, no wonder he paid for their their security because he could.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, like, so sweet, and she did make a point to say, like, it took me a long time to call him. Like,
Yes.
I didn't just, like, leave Buckingham Palace and was like, "Hey, Tyler, like, let me see what you can do for me." Like, she was like, "We were struggling."
Yeah.
And, they did seek refuge in Canada,
Hmm. Nice one.
and it really gave me the creeps, like, thinking about people watching them from boats.
That was
I
really
didn't
weird
like
when she
that.
painted
That
that
really made me
picture.
uncomfy.
Yeah, just the thought of them, like, trying to go in their backyard or even with Archie as a small baby, and there's just people, like, sitting there creeping on them from the water.
Well, and especially because there's the Diana of it. Like,
Mhm.
Diana kind of is like the g I don't wanna say like a ghost because that could sound wrong, but, like,
Yeah.
she's just kind of like this figure that, like, no follows them in every conversation because I mean, died because paparazzi was, like, so like, wouldn't leave her alone, essentially, like,
Yeah.
in a car accident. So it's like, that must be such a trigger for Harry because he's like, "This is not okay. Like, you can't keep following me." Like, it's scary. He said that he suffered from PTSD. He also said, I remember in the Oprah interview, like, that Archie wouldn't get security, but all the other royal kids got
Yes.
security.
I know, and it's
What
almost
the
like this,
fuck?
like, essence of the tragedy of Diana and her death
Mhm,
that haunts them, really,
mhm.
or probably very much haunted them at the time when it wasn't clear whether they would be supported with security through the royal family or not, and, like, that to me, even like you said, just the thought of it is so like violating. I can't even
Mhm.
imagine how they felt also with all of that history, but living it and experiencing it. So the thought is like insanely violating. And they had this new baby. Like,
Brand new baby. They're dealing with racist idiots every single
racist
day. I
media,
mean, you're
fighting with
dealing
their
with
family.
fighting with the family, fighting with the people of Britain. Like it must have been hell. I mean, people were truly traveling by air, land, and sea to just like get a photo of them. And
Mhm.
that is probably so overwhelming, so scary. I can't imagine. And I would call Tyler Perry too.
I
I'd
would
be like,
call
"Get me the
Tyler
f
Perry.
out of
I would have
Canada."
called him before she did, I'm sure.
No, honestly, I would have sent him a text. I would have been like, "Hey,
Hey, Ty.
hey, how are you?" Um, Something that I think you and I have been we talk about this a lot. We talk about the royal family like
All
way
the
more than
time.
anyone should. Um, is I finally got my head around Archewell.
Yes,
I finally get
definitely.
it. You and I have been like, "Where's the Netflix special?
Where's the
Where
Net
is where is
Where's the
any of it?"
podcast? You don't understand. When I woke up and that podcast had come out and Archetypes had an episode, I was trying to think about like the feeling that I had and what it was comparable to. And it was like when I was a teenager and I passed my driver's test and I got my driver's license. It was like relief and excitement because
Yeah.
I was like, finally, they did. I've been waiting since when did they put out December 2018 or 19? Like
Yeah.
that the first Archwell audio and then nothing ever came of it. And finally, and it
We have
sounds like
been
there's
trying
more
to figure
episodes recorded. So I'm
Yeah,
really
there's
like
more episodes recorded. It says in the article that she's recorded with Issa Rae, Z-Way, Margaret Cho,
the
what
neighbor. I forget her name
the
now.
neighbor, oh, the
No
woman with
makeup,
the
makeup.
pigs, with the
Yeah.
no with the mini pigs. Shit, what is her name?
Yes.
Last name is Jackson.
Yes.
Can't wait for that. Like, so there's stuff coming for us. It's not like a one and done, which I was really scared of because I'm like, these people just keep stringing us along. And the Netflix docu-series, like, so Archewell is there's 3 parts. There's the
Hmm.
production, which oversees the Netflix deal. There's the audio, which is obviously the podcast, and then there's the nonprofit.
Yes.
So when it was broke down like that, I finally got it. I finally like understood, like, oh, okay.
I know
Now
that helped
I
me
get
make more sense too. I'm still a little confused why they need separate like divisions for production of television and the podcast. But again, I'm not, maybe somebody can tell me that. I'm sure that there's a reason behind it. What I
Yeah.
will say also is I also found it interesting that she had like a children's show in development with Netflix and then they canned it.
Pearl.
Pearl, yes.
Mhm.
I did not know that there was stuff that they were working on or trying to get made that Netflix was like, no. So that was an interesting
I wanna know
tidbit
more
for me.
into that. Like, why did Netflix say no? Because Netflix puts out crazy stuff.
Netflix puts out crazy stuff, but
So I'm
Netflix in
like,
the
"Well, what
last
was wrong with
year,
Pearl?"
they went through a lot of budget cuts and layoffs, I believe. So I think that Netflix, is just having a tough go. And today's their 25th anniversary of when they launched. Isn't that crazy? Yeah.
25?
Well, they started out as like DVD mailers. We can't get into Netflix history. I am the biggest dork ever. Why do I know this?
Yeah, you were like, "On this day, 25 years ago." No, that's crazy. I do remember when Netflix did mail DVDs, but just like I still think 2010 was 4 years ago. Like, I
Yeah,
don't know what's going on anymore.
same.
Um, yeah, wow. Jesus. Sorry. It's just like,
I
this is a
know.
lot to process.
You're like me and Netflix are the same age pretty much.
Yeah, I'm
Great.
like, okay." Um, so this was an interesting like part in the article. It says, by her own analysis, her problems stem from her being an American, not necessarily a Black American. She explains her desire to ask a lot of questions and to never be involved with something she couldn't totally have her hands on seemed to violate an unspoken social norm.
Yes.
I found that
So
interesting.
I was curious with that. And I was like, was the writer, first of all, can we give a shout out to the writer, Allison P. Davis?
Shout
Because
out.
the way that this article was handled was incredible. It didn't feel like she was up, and I think she identifies as she, but it didn't feel like she was up their ass. It
No.
felt very Like, I'm spending time with these people, observing them, and I'm also giving like a fair and, honest assessment of what is happening here. So I just, sorry, sidebar, wanted to do that. But I kind of was confused by that, because was she saying that Meghan struggled with the fact that she was American or a Black American, or that Meghan is an opinionated, independent, vocal person and they took that away from her? Or was it both?
I read it like British people. Now, if you're British, so sorry, but this is the vibe I'm getting
We're
from what
generalizing. We're generalizing
we're
for the purpose of
generalizing on this
today.
podcast. Sorry, guys. Is I think they view Americans as being like loud and opinionated and like outspoken and like
Mm,
very like hands-on, like very like in the mix. And I don't think they're like that. I think they're much more like,
right.
not they don't
Reserved,
show their
reserved.
hand right away. They're a little bit more reserved. So I think her being American and a Black American, it was like, holy shit, like this is
Yeah.
a lot for us.
Overload.
It was overload for
Negativity
them.
overload.
It was yeah, they literally did not know what to do. But what I find so interesting about I just think Megan is just like a very interesting person. And like to kind of piggyback off of what you were saying about the writer, is she did like give a she kind of like painted a nice picture of Megan while also acknowledging like Megan is an actress. She is media trained. Like she does know how to answer questions. She does know, and she's royally trained. Like
Yes.
guys, they're not just sending clowns out there. Like you have to know how to answer questions. Like you have to do all of that. So I like that
Yeah.
she mentioned that, because I think sometimes people can get frustrated with Megan and think that she's like too polished or like
Mm-hmm.
too ready. Because I do remember having that thought myself at one point. And I still do. Like I'm a human being.
Same.
Is I will never forget when her and Harry announced it. Sorry, Ruby is like she's so ant. She got ants in her pants. She's running around. Barbara slapped her in the face. Like
Oh
there's a lot
no.
happening. Yeah, it's really fights have been broken out. Anyway, um, is I remember during their engagement interview that they did,
Yes.
she said the words, "We were roasting a chicken."
Yes.
And I thought to myself, "You're an American woman. We do not say that here." Like it just felt very like, instead of like, "Oh, we were making chicken," it's like we were roasting a chicken. And I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Like it felt very
Yeah.
Dorit to me. Like it was like a woman of the world. Like what is happening? She can come off very like she's just very
She's
thoughtful with her words. And like that's
she's
great.
trying too hard. She's trying
She
too
does.
hard. And unfortunately, as much of a successful actress as she is, it comes
Well,
off as
Lex,
inauthentic.
I
I
mean,
said successful. I didn't say
I was gonna
amazing.
say, I was like, she was on Suits, which also I loved when the writer pointed that out. She was like,
I know.
"This woman was on Suits, like a
USA
procedural on
Network.
TBS. Like, this wasn't HBO, like this is let's be real here."
Yes.
Um, Granted,
But here's the
obviously
thing.
more acting experience than me.
I think that and I said this about this article and also about the first episode of Archetypes, is like, I don't know if it's because I'm just going to say it and then I'll talk about it.
Say
She
it.
seems like she's overproducing herself. It's something
Yes.
that this author also brings out, talking about the Bachelor producer in her ear. But it seems like she's like almost like catching herself and overproducing herself. And then that's where that like overly polished or like unnatural, inauthentic side of her comes out. And it's hard for me because I'm like, is she feeling that way? Because, I made a video, I posted on TikTok today, and like the vile, disgusting comments that people have about Meghan. Like, of
It's
course, I would
crazy.
understand why she is so buttoned up. But she was doing this, like you said, from when they were engaged before any of this really happened. She was just roasting a chicken. Like, so
Yeah.
it's kind of always been that way. And it's
Yeah.
hard to know if we're getting the real Meghan.
Yeah.
And
And
I
I think
want
that
the
that's
real
what
Meghan.
really people are struggling with, because there is such a realness about her. She has such like a warmth and like she feels very open, but then like when
Mhm.
you listen to her speak, sometimes you're just like, something's amiss. Like
Yes.
something's going on here. I'm sure behind closed doors she's very cool and very chill, and like her and her mom probably like,
Kick
hang
it.
out and chill. But there is like this, like, even during the promo for her podcast, I had to laugh. Like, what why are there so many people producing this podcast? Like, why is there such a team?
Sam,
Why is there so
I can't talk
why
about this.
the way she's sitting? Okay,
They're
I'm
all
not trying
white
to be mean.
women. They're all white women. That
Um,
stung. That stung.
yeah. See, that
That
shocks
really
me.
bothered me. No
But that, like,
disrespect,
really
but, like,
surprises me. Like, that's what I mean, like, there's, like, this really, like, realness to her, and then all of a sudden it's, like, pulled back, like, she stops herself, and I don't know, like, during her like, I was saying her
the intro of her podcast when she
yeah,
was
where she's like,
laying.
"Is this thing on?"
Mhm.
Like, "Yes, it's on, Megan. You have 30 people in the room." Like, yes, the
And
red light
again,
is on.
I will defend her, like, I really will
Same, I
defend her
love
because
her,
I'm
but
like,
we
maybe she sounded stiff on the podcast, and I'm like, maybe it's a new medium, it's her first time doing a medium like this, she's leading it, it's a lot. I think she sounded way more casual and comfortable just in conversation with Serena. Like, I really, really do. And I'm like, I'm open to giving her time, but it felt super stiff. And again, this is like what keeps me up at night with Meghan and why I will like continue to defend her is because I'm like, I don't know why. Like, I can't put my finger around it, but like, I know you're in there. So just
yeah,
like, let's get to the phase because I recognize that this phase is very difficult
yeah,
and that these few years have been tough. But like, I want to get to the phase where Meghan is, she's feeling good. She's feeling
yeah,
sharp. She's on her A game because like, I do have faith that she can get there. And maybe let's get some
100%.
people of color on the production team. I don't know. I don't
Yeah, just an idea.
know.
Just an idea, Megan, if you're listening. Um, yeah, like, so that I find interesting because it's I get why people kind of are hesitant to, like, be into her, but again, there is, like, such a difference in the way Kate is treated and the
Oh
way
my God, yes.
Meghan is treated, and that is something you just cannot deny. Like, Daily Mail trash, I know, posted an article last week about, Archie's room being on fire and
Mhm.
Meghan having to, like, go continue her royal duties in South Africa on that trip a few years ago, and, like, I'm just like, they would never write an article about Kate like this. Like, if one of Kate's children's bedrooms or nurseries was on fire, Kate would, like, not have to do anything. They
Kate would
would, like,
not have to do
it
anything,
would be or it would be understood that she wouldn't want to.
and the
Um,
article would be like, you know, Kate's nanny saves baby from
yeah,
fire. Like, it would be complete contrast to what
mhm.
we got as a response to Meghan sharing that anecdote on the podcast. Like, again, it's so blatant and like flagrant, I think is the better word, that I fault
They don't
Meghan
even try to hide it.
0%. No, they don't try to hide it at all.
Yeah,
And
and that's
they said it right in this article, like they do nothing and people criticize them. They try
mhm,
and do stuff and people criticize them. Like, they're in an impossible situation.
mhm,
So I feel like they're, trying to navigate that as best as they can. But
and
it's
that's so
funny because
hard.
it's so hard. But I'm also just like, y'all, come on. Like, don't say the Mandela comment in this interview. Like, you
Oh
know
my
better.
god. Let's get into that.
Okay.
Okay. Guys, let me read this quote to you.
I can't.
So you guys, there is this quote that I texted Lex and I said, "Let's talk about the Mandela comment." And she's like,
Mhm.
"Oh, we're going to talk about it."
Mhm.
So, this is what it says. She recalls a moment from the 2019 London premiere of the live action version of The Lion King. She says, "I just had Archie. It was such a cruel chapter. I was scared to go out. A cast member from South Africa pulled her aside. He looked at me and he's just like, light. He said, I just need you to know when you married into this family, we rejoiced in the streets the same way we did when Mandela was freed from prison. Of course, she knows she's no Mandela, but perhaps even telling me the story is made of oh, sorry. Oh my God, I can't read. But perhaps even telling me the story is a mode of defense because if you are a symbol for all that is good and charitable, how can anyone find you objectionable? How can anybody hate you?
Okay.
Meghan, why are what the fuck? She has the tendency to like go a little too far. Like the Mandela thing. I remember during the Oprah, she said that she was like the Little Mermaid.
Oh my God.
You know what I
And
mean? I'm like,
Ursula took her voice away.
yes, I'm like, shut up.
But this is what
What
I
are your
don't
thoughts on this, Lex,
understand.
please?
I mean, my thoughts are very simple. You
Yeah,
don't say something like this. You know that
just
people are
period.
seething, chomping at the bit, looking to pick away at anything you say. Just don't say this one. Like,
Yeah, keep this
find
one
another
tucked
example
away.
with your publicist to get your point across. This is not the one.
'Cause
And why?
comparing
Where is their
yourself
publicist?
well, that's the thing. That's what surprises me is like she seems so polished and so this and so that, and that's great, but like, why are you telling this story? It's not a good look. Like this man, Nelson Mandela was in prison.
Correct.
Like prison. You
And
married into a royal family
yes,
at the end of the day. And here's the thing, I understand the hardship she went through. I understand. I mean, I won't fully understand, obviously, because I didn't live that situation. I get all the things she had to go through, but like comparing yourself to Nelson Mandela is not going to
and comparing
help your
yourself
case.
again, even if this person said this, because another thought that I had was like, are articles like this fact checked, or do they like, are they able to contact this person to fact check this? I don't know. But like, again, even when this happens, like,
Mhm.
if this happens, you just don't say this. Don't compare you marrying into the royal family as people rejoicing when Mandela was freed from prison. Like when South African people are rejoicing that Mandela is freed from prison. Like just skip it.
Yeah. Just maybe like give another story. Like give
There,
another I don't know. It's like I couldn't believe my eyes when I read it. I was like, Mandela rejoicing in the streets? Like, because you married Prince Harry? Like, what? It's
and I
just
get it. Like
crazy.
I understand what it symbolizes or what she's implying it
I
symbolizes, like a
right,
person of color.
100%.
But again, I'm just like, Megan, please, please
Right.
give me something to work with here. My
I
love,
know.
my
It was
loves.
my loves. It was like I just couldn't believe my eyes. I was like, "Oh my god,
I
Megan."
know.
Rachel Meghan Markle. Like, what the
I'm like
fuck?
laughing because I'm uncomfortable at the thought. Like,
God, if also,
what?
like, if that happened, I would be like, "Please," I would tell that man, like, "Please don't say that. Like,
Right.
don't compare me to Nelson Mandela getting freed from prison, please." Like, that's I love you and I love the support, but not the
No.
same. Not the same.
Yes. So it was
Oh,
very, that was something. That one
that was
really,
really something.
that really threw me out. And then, like, coming off of that, I will also say I'm a data nerd. We've established that I'm a huge
I
loser,
love
but like,
that about you.
I loved that they had this study that found out that like press around her was disproportionately negative,
Mhm.
and 70% of these hateful posts came from 83 accounts that reached up to 17 million Twitter users. So a small pool of accounts, big reach, not huge reach, but
Mhm.
that 70% of posts were disproportionately negative. So I
Yeah.
understand that she's up against a tough crowd.
Yeah. I mean, it's you're marrying someone also he's not just like the Prince of Monaco. Like, he's
Yeah.
not like the Prince of Spain or something like that. Like, Harry has the sun is I don't
Directly in your eye.
hang on, I don't know. so sorry. Just give me 1 second. It's truly in my eye.
Oh my God.
And it's raining. That's the weirdest part. It's
Oh, it's
like
so weird. It was raining
it's
here
so
too.
weird. Anyway, so like I was saying, she's marrying Diana's son, who everyone has like this such affection for her, like this protective nature because everyone had seen those two boys
Mm-hmm.
with their walking behind their mother's casket. Like that's an image that so many people like can't get out of their heads. So I think that also makes it really hard. And I know you want to talk about the Harry of it all too.
Yes. What
Because he
did you
makes a
call him on
cameo in
text?
this.
Tell them what you called him on text.
Our barefoot king?
Yeah. Our barefoot king, Harry
Our
walks in. Oh my
barefoot.
God. Oh my
This man,
God.
barefoot.
You know what? He's living his best life. I
I
refuse
really
to
think
believe
Harry's
anything
living his
else.
best life. I
I
think
think he's
Harry is
so
footloose and
happy.
fancy free. Like,
Yes.
he is kicking it. Like, Harry is just like, we'll put out the docuseries when we do. You guys will
Yep.
just have to wait. Sorry.
He
Like,
joined
he's
his
in
polo
no
club
rush.
and he's good. Life
Yeah.
is good. And I just I there was one particular moment. Obviously, this is what I will say about them. I love how they show up for each other. They are, as
A
she
unit.
said, salt and pepper. They are a unit, okay?
Yeah.
You never manners, 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 Archie. That's referencing the article.
Yeah.
You never pass salt without the pepper. You pass them together. They are salt and pepper, right? He walks in, she lays him up, and he just swoosh dunks
Mhm.
it every time. And I feel like this is their dynamic where it's like he is so content to have her lead and be the one, the main event in the spotlight. And he is, supporting. She's main character and he's best friend. And it works for them in a really, really delightful way. So, perfect example that I loved is like he walks in, barefoot king, and the interviewer and Meghan are talking. And then he's like, "Oh, did you tell her what you said to me yesterday when you got back from the shoot?" Because again, Meghan was gone for 12 hours and Harry didn't know what to do with himself.
Yeah.
And she's like, before Meghan could even respond, he's like, "She said, I'm not a model, I'm a mom." And he's like, "No, you can be both." And I'm like, "Oh my God, Harry, just give us what we want to hear. This is
Yeah.
fantastic."
They are really like, say what you want about them individually, but as a couple, they are such a team. They are such a strong unit. Like, I love seeing them together because they really do walk together in everything.
Mhm.
And they made a point to say that in the article. Like, we're like you said, like salt and pepper. Like, we are a unit and we go together. And I think that that's I think people really respond to them together, especially during like appearances and stuff, because they're always like so touchy. And that's not something we ever see from Wills and Kate.
I know.
When they touch each other, it is rigid.
Yes.
It is cold as ice.
But
And
it's so evident, right?
they've been trying the the
So hard.
royals have been trying so hard to make Wills and Kate like a more approachable
Yes.
couple. And it's like, you're not. You're not.
You're not. You're
And
just
that's
another
okay.
stuffy couple, and it's
Lean
fine.
into it. You're just not.
They're trying to toss Charlotte in there for extra points, you know?
Yeah.
Love it.
They got
But
Charlotte to they put Charlotte to work.
yeah, they put Charlotte to work. But even like them describing, or this article describing their office when they walked by and they popped their heads in and their desk, it wasn't like they sit across from each other. They sit side by side. Like you just know that Harry and Meghan are out at a restaurant and there's like a high top of four and they scoot around and they're sitting side by side, or they're in the booth side while the
Oh,
two
they're in the
chair
booth
sides.
together.
Yeah, they're in the booth together. That
Yeah.
to me was so, I was like, that's who they are. They're booth side, one and
Yeah.
two.
Yeah. They are salt and pepper. Um, I want to talk about Archie because she said, and there's always like little tiny tidbits that she drops about like what life would be like if she was still a royal or in the
Mhm.
UK. Um that I don't think people like really get the details or understand like the protocol. So she said if we were in school in the UK, she'd probably never be able to do school pickup and drop off without it being a royal photo call with a press pen of 40 people snapping pictures. And she says, "Sorry, I have a problem with that. That doesn't make me an obsessed person with privacy. That makes me a strong and good parent protecting my child." And I'm like, that is so wild. Like,
Yes.
she has to give like, they have to notify the press that she's going to pick up the kids at school. Like, that's so crazy to me that the royal family is doing that.
Yeah, and even like
Like
the Instagram of it all, right? When they got to share Kensington Royal, I don't know if I didn't know this, but I didn't fully grasp. Like they had to release and share those photos to the Royal Rota, which again, if you're not geeking out on royals like us, it's like the pool or community of British media that they share as press outlets. So they would
mhm.
share those photos with the press outlets before they were allowed to post it on social media.
Yeah.
Crazy.
She's
And
like,
they
"I
couldn't,
have a problem with that."
yeah, like I
I
can't post a photo of my kid before all of these press outlets have access to it.
yeah.
Very
I
bizarre to
mean,
me.
Megan is, an original influencer. She's like, "I wanna be in control of my content. I wanna be in
Yeah.
control of my own life. I wanna be in control of my kids." And I
She
mean,
knows how to
one of
curate a feed.
Tig?
Tig, the Tig,
Tig?
come on.
The Tig? There's a quote obviously going around that's like really powerful that she's sharing, or that people are sharing. And it says, "Why would I give the very people that are calling my children the N-word a photo of my child before I can share it with the people that love my child? You tell me how that makes sense, and then I'll play that game."
Yes.
I screamed.
Extreme. And that to me, I'm like, this is the Megan I
That's
want
that
more
bitch. Like,
of.
that's the
That is
Megan,
that
like
bitch.
yeah, I was like, "Where is she?"
Where is
She
she?
lost her way when she started talking about Nelson Mandela, but we're back. Like,
Like
because it's
that
like
is who I want to hear from.
that's who I wanna hear from someone who's very, like, "This is what it was like, these people were awful." So why would I do that? Like, are you kidding?
And
I
that
was like,
makes
"Good for
sense,
you, girl."
Megan. I agree with you. That very obviously checks out for me. So I need more of that, Megan, real badly. And also, I'm so glad that she said that. I'm so glad that she
Yeah,
was like, fuck you guys. Like, why in the world would I voluntarily put myself in that situation?
right.
You explain it to me, and then I will let you know if I'm
Well,
going
and
to
I
do it.
think too, there's, like, such a hypocrisy and double standard with her, like, she wasn't getting the same treatment as Kate when it came to, like,
Yes.
security or, like, her son wouldn't have a royal, like, name, like prince or princess, which is, like, all of the other kids do,
Mhm.
and it's like, there's just this treatment of them from the very beginning, and I mean, I love there was that sign of, Meghan being not as polished because during the Oprah interview, she was like, "There were so many lies and rumors about me that I could never dispute and that no one would dispute for me, even though if something came out about Kate that wasn't true, it was immediately like, oh, actually,
Untrue.
someone would come out with a statement." And she was like, "It wasn't Kate that cried at the flower girl dress fitting. It was me, but I
Yeah.
never said anything about it." And I'm like, that must have been so frustrating to sit
Yes.
there and just watch lie after lie, and you're just sitting there and you can't say anything. I would go crazy. I would
Uh,
go crazy.
Same. I literally texted you to talk about this. Imagine if I wasn't allowed to say something that was like fact and true. And then on top of not being able to say anything, your family and this firm that is meant to protect you, like, is going out there and not renouncing like the exact opposite blatant lie of what happened. Like, again, when
I
you
would leave
really
that family
start,
too.
yes, when
I'm
you start to
sorry.
break it down, I feel like they made the entirely right decision to leave the royal family. And I also loved knowing like that they were like, we wanted to, we wanted the option to go live within the Commonwealth. Like, you don't want us here, we'll leave. They didn't give us that option. They wanted to
Yeah.
continue and stay. So, like, they did what they had to do to protect their mental health and their family. And I will never, ever, ever fault them for it. But it's also so crazy because, like, when you pick these like very select examples, you're like, what the fuck were these people doing to them? Like,
I know.
why?
I don't get it. Because
Why?
that she doesn't
Teresa,
even
why are
get
you treating Melissa like this? Like, give it up.
Teresa is the monarchy,
I know.
and she's, like, torturing her, and the thing is I think Harry and the Queen have a good relationship. I always
Yeah.
think, they have a very cheeky, like, funny, giggly, like, funny relationship with each other, and I bet that was probably the most painful relationship for him to leave, because I think him and Will, like, weren't that close. I think
Yeah.
I I know people are like, "Oh, they're brothers." I'm like, "Yeah, but I
Not
think
every brothers
we're
are close.
overestimating how close they really were." Like, of course, they
Yeah.
did engagements and stuff together, but I don't think they were, like,
Not
palling
anymore.
around.
And also, I think, and I will say, like, I think that because he was so close with the Queen, ultimately, that's why they were allowed to leave. Is at some point, I have to, like, I have to have optimism kick in here that, she felt bad and said, okay, I approve this. Like, I'm not going to
Mhm.
approve any other way, but yes, go. And then I'm curious about his relationship with his dad because the dad funded them for the first year when they weren't working and
Mhm.
how that ultimately ended. I mean,
Right.
we know why, but it's also interesting that he continued to financially support them.
Yeah. There's
So
a
many family
lot.
dynamics.
There's so much, and, I really can't wait for their Netflix docuseries or whatever to come out, like
Historical documentary. Can we talk
yeah.
about that, please? Because
Yeah.
that drove me up the wall. It's not a
Please, let's talk
reality
about it.
docuseries at home with Meghan and Harry. It's not a reality docuseries. It's a historical documentary.
Mhm.
Why? Why? Just call it what it is. I don't care what it is. I'm going to watch it.
I know, I'm gonna watch the shit out of it, and also, she actually brought up something that I've never really s I've never really sat back and thought about it. She's like, "People don't know a lot about, like, our story together." Like, they don't know, like, about our, like, relationship. They know that, like, yeah, he proposed to me while I was we were roasting a
Roasting a
chicken.
chicken.
They know that we did, like, but they don't know, like, them together, so I'm interested to see them, but again, the writer did such an amazing job where she did point out, like, you know, there's a lot going on behind the scenes,
Mhm.
of lots of people curating things, and so it's kind of interesting, you know?
And how like she tried to go to their publicists and stuff and Netflix for confirmation of anything in production and it was like, "Go ahead, girl, give us nothing." Like they
Yeah.
got nothing. I
Yeah.
mean, here's the thing that I will say that I took away from this article overall was apart from trying to promote archetypes, which I actually feel like they talked about extremely minimally, like
Very.
I feel like it
Mhm.
wasn't about archetypes at all. Um, to me, this article was them trying to set that foundation of like Harry and I's love story, the two trees. Archie goes and says, "Good morning, mama. Good morning, papa." Like, I
Okay.
really
L
feel like she's
let's
trying to set that foundation. I know,
We
go.
didn't talk about it.
Go. I could
Guys,
talk for like 2 hours about this. I don't want to go over your
this
time.
fucking oh my god. You just literally I tried to block that part out of this article. In
Oh,
the
I could
article, she
never.
was like, we were looking she acts like they were on Zillow. I'm like, "No one's on Zillow for homes that are $16 million. Like,
Yep.
I mean, I don't think so.
I don't know.
I mean,
I'm not looking.
I'm in an apartment.
That's not
Like,
in
I
my
don't know.
range.
Yeah, no. So she was like, "We would be looking for houses and blah, blah, blah." And then we found this house and these two beautiful palm trees. And Harry noticed that they were joined together at the root. And he said, "That's us." And then she says that little Archie walks by these palm trees every day and says, "Hi, mama. Hi, papa." Are you fucking kidding me? There is not a fucking chance in hell that kid is doing that.
I'm so sorry. You just delivered that perfectly. I can't keep it together.
It's crazy.
It's crazy, but that's what
I
I'm
read it,
saying.
was like, "What
They
the
don't
fuck are
need to
they
say
talking
all this
about?"
shit. Like, they don't need to say these things at all. Why
No.
is she saying this? Like, Megan, does she hear the words coming out of her mouth? And as they are escaping her body, does she think, oh no? Or is she like, yes, more?
That's what I mean. Like,
That's the confusion. That's the whole
Megan,
thing.
because it's like we're so close. Because she's like, we're not gonna look at homes like while we're not working. So I was like, yeah, girl, like
Of
same.
course,
Of
relatable.
course, like so true, bestie. And then all of a sudden, it's like their son's saying hi to these trees.
In their
I'm like,
$14.5
please.
million home.
Like, he's not. I can promise you he's not. And like,
No,
it just feels sometimes like a little too like, I don't know. It's a lot. It's a lot.
it's trying too hard, Sam. It's
Mhm.
trying
I know.
way too
And
hard
it hurts me
past
to
the
say
point.
that because I
I
really
know.
love her, but then there's some things where I'm just like, God
I know. I
damn it.
want I want Megan to be great, and I have faith that she will be great. I'm so like I'm
Do you think
so
she's gonna run for
excited.
office? Like a political office?
Oh, I don't
There's a
know.
lot of talk about that.
Oh my God. I didn't think about that, but you know what? I could see that. She's got to get involved in lobbying for something. Like I really could see her following a hybrid of a Michelle Obama, Kim Kardashian mix.
Wow.
I mean, she understands the value of turning her life into content. That's also something that the author said. And
Yes.
taking everything that's going on and turning it into content. And that's what we've seen her do. That's what she's doing with archetypes. That's what they're probably ultimately going to do with At Home with Meghan and Harry. But like, to be honest, when I read this article, I was like, I could even take Meghan as a real housewife. Like,
I was thinking the exact
were
same thing.
you?
Yes. I was like, "Get her on Beverly Hills."
Yes,
Yeah, like, I was like, "Get her I
immediately.
need a camera on her at all times." Because here's the
Andy.
thing, I'm so I'm glad this article came out, whatever, whatever. I'm kind of like I feel like I wanna get into more details of things, like, I feel like
Yes.
I wanna sink my teeth in just a little bit more and, like, really get into it because I feel like we just keep getting kind of, like, the same, like, she gives it to us, but not fully, and it's
Yep.
like, I can't keep talking about Tyler Perry, like, I don't wanna talk about, like, that part. I wanna talk about, like, what are they doing right now? Like,
So I have two thoughts
what's
on
going
that.
on? Yeah, talk to me.
I think number one, I think there is like a fear factor
Oh, yeah,
where
for sure.
they're scared to say anything more. But I think that with time and healing, that will come. I
Mhm.
really, really do. Because she clearly is somebody that's like, all
She's,
she's
like,
doing
ready
is,
to go.
yeah, she's ready to talk.
She has
And then,
journals.
second, like, I don't know right now. I think, again, the same with like, we saw nothing happen after Archwell Audio and then now Archetypes. Like, I think they're only going to talk when they have something to talk about. So, my hunch is like, they don't really have anything to talk about right now. Like,
Yeah.
Harry joined a polo club in Santa Monica or Santa Barbara. Like, okay,
Like, they're
cool.
Harry's living his best life, like we said.
Harry's
Barefoot King,
literally coming out
he's
on top here.
he's loving America. Harry in America, you know what? That's the show I want. I want Harry to
Yes,
tour America. I wanna
America.
get him in the Midwest. I wanna get him, like, on a
Oh,
farm. Like,
and you
that's
know he would love it.
Harry would love it. I want the simple life with Harry and Meghan.
Meeting everyday people,
That's what I
boom.
would want.
It would be fantastic. I
Get
would,
them
again,
Mic them up,
get
get the
Netflix on the
cameras
phone,
rolling. Why
please.
aren't we in charge of Netflix?
I don't know. That is, I cannot believe that is so something that I feel like I would watch because I think that Harry would genuinely and authentically thrive in every single situation. He loves, like,
Harry
that's what he's good at.
Harry is so, like, he's Harry.
A
Like,
man of the people.
he's a man of the people. He's the people's prince.
Yep.
Like, Diana was the people's princess, he's the people's prince. William is not so much.
Not
Now,
so much. The
I
Prince of
will have to
Pegging,
say, like, I do
allegedly.
find this really an interesting sometimes when I remember about it, I'm like, "Oh, that's, like, really fucked up," is that the backdrop of all of this so Meghan's getting all this hate, Harry's getting all this hate, they gotta leave the monarchy, they gotta do this, everyone
Mhm.
hates them, whatever. There's Prince Andrew just
Correct.
lurking in the background, And I'm like, why aren't we like talking about that? Like, why aren't the tabloids dragging his ass every single day? Instead, they're mad that Meghan eats avocados.
Yes,
It's
because I think they
fucking
were
bonkers.
using Meghan and Harry and feeding any information about them to divert from Prince Andrew. I refuse to believe anything else. I refuse.
Whoa. You just sent my mind into like a different dimension. Like, I didn't even think about that. I don't think I
Yeah.
think.
Yes, you do.
My whole podcast is like, I've never thought about this before.
No, you have many
Wow.
deep thoughts. Deep thoughts. Just change the title of the podcast.
Yeah.
Deep thoughts with Sam.
I'm just wow. Okay, because I just find that part really to be very interesting because it's like Megan's getting all of this hate and all of this. Um and and then there's Prince Andrew, who's just doesn't show up to things now, but he's
Yep.
still there.
But he's still there. He's still
Mhm.
getting paid. Taxpayers are paying for his way of life, sure.
Mhm.
And then suddenly Meghan and Harry are getting completely dragged for doing renovations at Frogmore Cottage.
Which
And
I'm
what I
sure was like, no offense, probably in shambles. No,
yes,
probably
and
not up to
also
date. It
they
had probably
paid
had
it back.
asbestos.
They paid it back and they still continue to bring it up when they
Mhm.
talk about their financial situation.
Yeah, it's so crazy. I mean, the one thing I will say about them leaving the monarchy is like, God, I loved seeing them like
I
at all these
know.
events. Like I loved seeing what she was gonna wear. Like I loved seeing them together and like I it always used to like make me like really, really excited. But I hope, we've been dying for more Meg content. We really have.
Well, okay. So I think here's the thing, to go off to bring us back full circle to what you
Yeah.
said off the top. I'm sure we could get some backgrid photos of Meghan and Harry in Santa Barbara having dinner with Catherine McPhee and what's his name?
David
David
Foster?
Foster.
They're
Sure. But
having
it's,
dinner with David Foster?
yeah, we can talk about that. But it is never going to be the same as them
So
being at
sad.
royal engagements, fully done up, being the royal celebs, like
Mhm.
it's just not,
Walking arm in arm
yes, it's just
as a
not going to be
foursome.
the same.
Mm-mm. I know. It really bums me out because, I mean, their farewell tour will literally go down in history. That photo of them in the
Oh,
rain
I
together, like,
know.
I just got the chills. Like, it was so iconic. Like, because it was their leaving. Like, this is
Yes,
it for us. So we're going to step out and shine.
it
And that
was
they did.
the best. It was
Her red
incredible. Like
dress,
10 out of 10, no notes.
no
Like
notes.
the most deliciously petty, like way to be petty was just like do it to
Mm.
perfection.
And the pictures, like, the
The
pictures were so good.
pictures.
Oh, the umbrella and
But
the
you know what?
rain.
I still also go gaga over the photos of like when she was invited to, I'm gonna mess up the way that they say this, like Sandra, you know?
Sandringham?
Yes. So when they were
Yeah.
invited, it was like the four of them walking, and she was in that like chocolate milky brown, and Kate was in
I
plaid, I
know.
believe. Like, I also feel like we were robbed of them, the four of them being great.
Mhm. I mean, I loved seeing her and Kate at tennis.
Yep.
I
Yes.
missed I missed that. Like, there are things that I miss, but ultimately, they had to do what was best for them and their children.
Of course. Respect. And I get it now
Respect.
as much as we can get it. Like, I really have, they've painted the picture for us. They've told us a bunch of times. Like, I fully get it. But now I'm ready for a new picture. I'm ready for Meghan to get back on Instagram. I hope she does.
I hope I will follow her so fast.
So fast.
So
And it'll be so interesting to see like the analytics of how quickly she gets to like 1 million followers, 2 million followers, etc. Like, she's going to get 1 million in a blink.
I'm just ready for this era.
Yeah.
Her
Reputation era.
reputation era. I'm ready. Like, she's ready to fucking talk. Like, I think she's ready to like spill some tea.
Oh yeah. And I bet,
In little sprinkles. Like, she won't drop it all at once. Like, there will be every podcast episode, she'll drop something. She'll be like, yeah, Archie's nursery was on fire and they made me still like go to do events. So,
and
you know?
she said that a bunch of times in this article. She was like, I can talk. I can
Yeah.
talk, but
It's
I'm
like that
making a choice
TikTok
not
audio
to.
where it's like, I could have said that.
Mm-hmm.
I could have said that. It's like, that's what it reminds me of. It's so It's so
But I
perfect. It's
also am
so
like, you're
perfect.
dangling the carrot in front of us, Meghan.
I
I'm
know.
ready
It's
to
like
bite.
I know. I'm literally foaming at the mouth. I'm like, please. This was so much fun.
This was so much fun. This felt therapeutic. Thank you for
Therapeutic
letting
because I
me come
needed
on
to
and
talk
chat
about
with you.
it. Like, I've literally been looking at the pictures all day. I've been looking online what people are saying.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
seeing some positivity, which is rare.
Yes. I mean, listen, at a certain point, people are just going to have to accept that
Uh-huh.
these two did what was best for them. They like got out of Dodge and they are now trying to start the new chapter.
Yeah.
If you're going to hold it against them, everything that happened in the past, like stop paying attention because
Mhm.
they deserve to move on. And I want them to move on. I want to see what they do.
I
I'm
know.
so
I'm excited.
excited. Yes.
I'm excited. Like, it's like I'm just like I need more Royals content. Like, I really, really do.
Well, we're about to get some every single week. Thank you,
Yeah.
Meghan. Thanks, Archetypes, Spotify.
Archetypes. Um, Tell everybody where they can follow you.
Please follow me everywhere: TikTok, Instagram,
Guys, she's huge on
Pinterest,
TikTok. She's a
Twitter,
star.
at Lex Niko, Lexniko. And that's where I am right now. I'm just, vibing after my
We love it.
European summer. I had a bit of a
Yeah,
lazy content summer.
you've been like really jet setting all over.
I know.
Like, I had a talk with her like a couple weeks ago and she's like, yeah, I'm leaving for Portugal in the morning. I'm like, oh, okay. See ya. See ya, girl. Have a safe flight.
On a whim. Why
Yeah,
not?
I was like, oh, okay. You go, girl boss. So anyway, make sure you guys rate, review, and subscribe where you've listened to podcasts. And follow me at Bravo Historian and follow me at Betches or oh my god. I'm still new at this. Follow me at Betches Brides. I'm a content manager over there as well now, which is really exciting. And at Take Yours Left on Twitter. And I will talk to you guys all on Friday. Bye.